Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at one of the masters of pulp fiction, a contemporary of H.P. Lovecraft, and the creator of one of the more interesting characters in classical American fantasy fiction. That is, a novel of John the Balladeer, The Lurking and the Lost, by Manly Wade Wellman. In case you've never heard of Manly Wade Wellman, he was a writer who got started in the 1930s alongside H.P. Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard, and Clark Ashton Smith in the pulp magazine Weird Tales. Throughout his life, Manly Wade Wellman traveled a lot, but he eventually settled in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where he became enthralled with some of the American folk stories, and from there sprung his most famous character, Silver John, or John the Balladeer. Silver John is basically a wandering bard. He essentially is like a Dungeons and Dragons bard, or potentially one of the inspirations for one, because he knows a huge amount of lore about history, folk legend, occultism, scripture, and a lot of other fields as well. He wanders around singing songs with a silver-stringed guitar, battling humans and monsters. He's good in a fight, a crack shot, a Korean War veteran, and he has a very good singing voice as well. What I find most enjoyable about this character is that Manly Wade Wellman can really get across the Appalachian dialect when writing as Silver John. The stories are all in first person, and that writing makes it a real pleasure. There's a number of short stories starring this character, which I would recommend picking up before you pick up the novels. Some of the events of the short stories are alluded to in these novels, but personally I believe that the short stories are generally a bit better in terms of quality than some of the novels are. As far as this particular novel goes, Silver John is charged with investigating this strange town overtaken by this weird cult and this female high priestess that apparently has some kind of a dark demonic ritual planned. There's some pretty cool set pieces in here, like on the cover you can see like the garbage fires that John notes. There's also a very interesting character, a black priest who's basically been run out of town by the white cult, essentially hinted to be from a more affluent background than the poor black Appalachian priest. So there is a bit of a racial subtext that kind of adds a bit more interest to what might otherwise just be a generic fantasy story. Now, personally, I thought a lot of the short stories were better than Lost and Lurking in particular, but I've yet to read any of the other Silver John novels. Personally, though, I think the character is interesting and the writing is well done enough that I will check at least one other novel out. That said, if you're interested in Silver John, I recommend checking out the short stories first. Also, there was a really bad movie called The Legend of Hillbilly John, loosely based on the stories, which I do not recommend watching. But in between the two, these novels I would not recommend checking out until you've read some of the short stories. Because they're short, they're a great way to introduce the character, and his really distinctive narrative voice. I hope to see you next time, here at the School of Night.